Hi, I'm Tina Ann Middleton, author of the Forest Field series. I'd like to welcome you today to the writing journey, where we inspire and encourage each other in the craft of writing. Today I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite local authors, and I'll tell you who it is when we come right back. I'm continuing in my theme of favorite authors, but I want to come closer to home. I want to talk to you about some local authors that I've had the opportunity to get to know. Today I'm discussing a lady whose writing, whose research really impresses me. Her name is Carole Lehr Johnson. I got to meet Carole when I first went to a conference for our local American Christian fiction writers. And I've had the chance to get to know her a little bit over the past 2-3 years. Carol's an impressive person to me. She's a travel consultant, has done that for years. And she loves all things British. I'm talking tea time, scones with clotted cream, castles. She loves anything having to do with the United Kingdom. So it's not surprising that her stories are set somewhere in the United Kingdom, each story. Her books, let me tell you a little bit about the books. Now, my first introduction to her, the first book of hers I read, is Cottage, about a woman from the United States who decides she wants to go to the United Kingdom. She goes over there, she finds and buys a house, and she's living her dream. Meets a handsome man, but something happens, and she winds up leaving that house and leaving that life. Now, I don't want to do any spoilers, so I'm not going to tell you what else happens, but you'd enjoy the story. The next book of hers that I read is called A Place in Time. And this book helped me to discover I enjoy these Christian time travel stories, because that's what this one is. Is it 4 young ladies go to the United Kingdom. They take costumes for that era that they're the most interested in, which I believe was the 16 or 1700s, somewhere around in there. Don't go by my memory. I tell people I have a short-term memory. But they're staying in this cottage that is on the grounds of what used to be like a castle. And then this was a worker's cottage. Something happens, and they wake up back in the time period that they had dressed for. There's romance, there's mystery. It's a terrific book. I mean, I enjoyed Cottage, but A Place in Time, I really got into that. Now, there are a couple others I haven't discovered yet, and I'm wanting to get them. One of them is their Scottish Destiny. She co-wrote this with another member of our group, Tammy Kirby. And Who I Want to Be, which is a devotional book. And I'm thinking, it's time for me to do a little book shopping here. Carole is a member, like I said, of our local American Christian fiction group. And they do an anthology every year. She is one of the contributors for the anthologies. Needless to say, her stories are set in the United Kingdom. And there's a couple time travel ones in there. Now, before I go any further, let me encourage you, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to The Writing Journey. Make sure you ring the bell so that you get notification of future videos. Also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Goodreads, and my Amazon author page. Now, why do I like Carole's stories? One thing I would point out to you is Carole is a very careful researcher. She doesn't just throw something on the page and hope it's right. She takes the time to research. She was telling us at a conference, she will take a year for research. And then she takes that research and she forms her book. I also like all things British, so the fact that these stories are set in the United Kingdom, that really appeals to me. I say British, I also like Irish and Scottish. It's part of my history, part of my, what would you call it, my heritage. The stories feel like you are there. You know, I told you about that one, A Place in Time. I could relate to that. At Cottage, the woman who goes to the United Kingdom, she's not a young woman. There is a young woman in the story who befriends her, but the woman is just a little bit younger than I am, the heroine of the story. So I could relate to her as well. The engaging characters, like I said, that you can relate to. The older woman who's got a tumultuous relationship with her son and moves to the United Kingdom to live her dream. Haven't we all wished we could do something like that? Move somewhere where we could live the dream we want to live. And I love those time travel stories, you know, where someone is taken from our era and transported back a few hundred years. It's interesting to think, how would I handle that? I'm used to cell phones and computers and microwaves, indoor plumbing. They didn't have that back then. And it's interesting to think, how would I cope? How do you think you would cope if you were taken from 21st century United States and transported back in time, say 400 years? You think you could get used to how things were back then? Well, that's what Carole's stories get you to think about. To tell the truth, reading her stories, that makes me really wish I could go to the United Kingdom. I recently did one of those heritage tests, you know, to find out where my bloodline comes from. I wasn't really surprised. I knew this, that my heritage is from the United Kingdom, England, Ireland, Scotland. I'd love to go back and visit my roots, if you will, all the way back there. I don't know if I want to be transported back in time, though. I kind of like 21st century comforts and conveniences. When someone is passionate about what she writes about, that passion shows in her stories. Carole is passionate about the United Kingdom, and it shows in her stories. They are amazing. Her devotion to the craft of writing shows as well, like in her time for research. Her devotion also shows in her service as president of our local ACFW. This talented author knows how important it is to keep writing. And I'm learning that too. How about you? Have a great week.